Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today I'm going to give you my 10 best werewolf horror movies of all time. And let's get to the list. Hyatt and stars Ed Spillers, Sean Pertwee, and Holly Weston. When passengers on a train are attacked by a creature, they must band together to survive the night.
We follow the tracks, we'll all stay together. I don't see there'd be a problem.
What is it?
Run!
Back on the train, everyone!
Go! It's coming!
I've been a big fan of this movie for the last few years because I had thought I had seen pretty much all the great werewolf movies that had been made until I heard about this, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and I immediately fell in love. It's got all the great creature designs of werewolf movies that I love. It's got exciting action, fun characters, great set design, a unique premise. It's got all those things that make a fun little movie. On top of all that, it has great mood and atmosphere.
Please don't kill me, no.
For such a little talked about movie, I definitely think it deserves to be on this list. The Howling is a 1981 mystery creature horror movie, directed by Joe Dante and based on the novel of the same name by Gary Brandner. The film stars Dee Wallace, Christopher Stone, and Patrick McNee. After a bizarre, near-deadly encounter with a serial killer, a television newswoman is sent to a remote mountain resort, whose residents may not be what they seem.
Your classic werewolf could change shape anytime it wants, day or night, whenever it takes a notion to.
What about killing it with silver bullets?
Well, sure. Silver bullets are fire. It's the only way to get rid of the damn thing.
So it had been quite a while since I had seen this, but while making this list, I was trying to freshen up on a few movies that I'd seen, but it had been a long time. And I was surprised how well this one really holds up, because it has such a cool, unique style and story to it. It goes in some different directions, especially because it delves into like a secret society and elements like that. It's not just your run-of-the-mill werewolf movie. On top of that, its creature designs, they are a little dated, but they're fun, and they're definitely fantastic, just really over-the-top, wild designs. And even though some of them are silly, some of the designs are absolutely creepy as hell. And the cast is also a lot of fun, especially Dee Wallace. She really commits all the way to this performance. She's such a fantastic actress, and it's just really fun to see her so young, just giving it all she's got in this movie. I love that as much as this is a creature feature, it's also very much a fun little mystery as you slowly unravel what's going on. This is a real classic that absolutely deserves my number 9 spot. Werewolf of London is a 1935 creature feature horror movie, directed by Stuart Walker with special effects makeup done by effects pioneer Jack Pierce. It stars Henry Hall, Warner Alland, and Valerie Hobson. While in Tibet, researching a mysterious flower, botanist Wilfred Glendon is bitten by a strange creature, causing him on the next full moon to undergo a startling transformation.
There will be other murders, tonight and tomorrow night. Also next month when the moon is full again. Unless you realize, sir, there is a werewolf abroad in London.
As much as everyone loves and thinks that the Universal classic The Wolfman is the first, this is actually predating it by 5 years. And it's definitely rough around the edges. It isn't as polished as The Wolfman. The design doesn't do the full body kind of transformation like The Wolfman does, which was cool. But it does do its own kind of transformation, and as early on as this was done, it's still really interesting. This is another moody film that has a lot of atmosphere and is extremely well performed by the entire cast. In a lot of ways, it is also a tragedy, like a lot of these old classic movies where it didn't necessarily have happy endings, or if it did, it was in a weird, strange way that didn't quite feel happy. It also has its own kind of sadness to it. But I think it's a beautifully shot movie that does get forgotten a lot of times when people talk about the classics, especially when it comes to the classic werewolf movies. But it's one that holds a real soft spot for me, and I absolutely love it. Ginger Snaps is a 2000 Canadian supernatural horror movie. Directed by John Fawcett and written by Karen Walton. The film stars Emily Perkins, Catherine Isabel, and Mimi Rogers. The story is about two teenage sisters whose relationship is tested when one of them is attacked and bitten by an unknown creature. Then during the next full moon, she begins to change.
Let's get out of here.
This is such a fantastic movie that has to do with coming of age, but it doesn't forget that it's also a horror movie. It gets bloody, gory, and savage. I enjoy the creature designs and just how it has this weird, haunting sexiness, but also terrifyingness at the same time, because it's both alluring as well as uncomfortable. It really goes into some issues and deals with some things that I personally, as being a man, cannot really talk on, but I've heard plenty of women talk about how important this movie was for them. But as a horror fan, I could very much appreciate it, and I absolutely have a great time with it no matter how many times I've seen it. It was great to see it get the spotlight last year on The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. It just shows that this little gem is finally starting to get some of the recognition it deserves. But there's no doubt in my mind that it's one of the greatest werewolf movies ever made.
You ask how a human can do that, my answer is simple. Telling Gwynnick, by the mere definition of the word, is a werewolf.
Whir is a 2013 creature feature psychological horror movie. Directed by William Brent Bell, it stars AJ Cook, Brian Scott O'Connor, and Sebastian Roche. In France, an American attorney defends a murder suspect who has a brutish appearance and a deadly secret.
An American man and his young son were brutally killed last night.
There is no factual evidence to indicate anything more than an animal attack.
At 1452, we apprehended the suspect.
The man accused of these crimes, one Talon Gwynnick.
I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that disagree with me, because a lot of people still haven't even seen this movie. It's one of those kind of hidden gems. But this is my list, and I know that it's not the right list. It's just simply my list, and I absolutely love this movie. Yes, it isn't perfect. There's a little CGI here and there that's not the best, but in general, this is one of the most badass werewolf movies you could possibly ask for, because it goes into these crazy, mysterious directions that has you questioning what's going on, and then it goes into these wild creature type of elements, supernatural elements. It does some things I've never seen a movie do, especially in the werewolf genre. It's very well acted with tons of fantastic action scenes. It's exciting and dramatic. It's got all the things that make for me an exciting, entertaining, just absolutely enjoyable werewolf movie. So it absolutely is on my list.
You're bloody loving this, aren't you?
Dog Soldiers is a 2002 British action horror movie. Written, directed, and edited by Neil Marshall in his directorial debut. It stars Sean Pertwee, Kevin McKidd, and Emma Cleesby. During a routine nighttime training mission, a small squad of British soldiers finds a bloody massacre, with a lone survivor that identifies that what hunts them is werewolves.
From here on in, the exercise is over.
Exactly what is it we're fighting against?
Lycanthropes.
That's werewolves to you and me.
If this isn't the most fun werewolf movie, I don't know what is. I would love to hear what you think is the most fun, but for me, it is definitely this one because it has so much action, fun characters, great comedic timing, even though it's not really what I would consider a comedy. It has fun little one-liners and shit talking that just keep you involved and really endear you to different characters. And holy shit, these werewolves are so badass. Just their design, it's unique. They're intimidating. They just look so ferocious and savage in every way. This movie is so badass and definitely deserves to be on anybody's werewolf horror movie list. The Cursed is a 2021 gothic horror movie. Written and directed by Sean Ellis, it stars Boyd Holbrook, Kelly Riley, and Roxanne Duran. In 19th century France, a man arrives at a small country village to investigate the attacks of a wild animal. However, he soon discovers a much deeper and sinister force that has the townspeople in its grip.
What's happening here?
So the moment I walked out of the theater last year after watching this movie, I knew right then and there that it was one of my favorite werewolf movies of all time. Even though I am not hearing very few people talk about it. I don't know what's the deal. I don't know if maybe I'm just crazy for thinking it's so amazing. I've seen some of you enjoying it, but as a whole, I just didn't hear much of anybody talk about it at all. And I know that part of the problem is originally it was called 8 for Silver, and it won a bunch of awards at the indie film festivals and stuff under that name, but then they did a few changes to the special effects. Not a lot from what I heard, but they did a little, and then they changed the name and put it in theaters. And people get it mixed up with that Wes Craven movie, Cursed. And it's nothing to do with it at all. It's not even slightly related. It's a very, very different movie. But it's so beautifully done. It's got mood and atmosphere and style and a lot of unique qualities because it doesn't do what your normal werewolf type of movie does. It has a lot of other lore and legends involved in it, so it's not your stereotype type of werewolf movie. It delves into these different angles to it to kind of explain what it is and how it is the way it is. And I just think it's so cool. It absolutely just drips in style. And I love the unique way that people transform. I'm trying to be careful about how I talk about it because I still know there's a lot of people that haven't seen this, but it has a very unique transformation type of thing is what I'll say. It doesn't do what you expect in a very, very long time and absolutely makes my personal list for top 10 werewolf movies of all time.
Silver Bullet, the last glimmering hope.
Silver Bullet is a 1985 horror thriller, directed by Dan Anadius and based on the 1983 Stephen King novella Cycle of the Werewolf. It stars Gary Busey, Corey Haim, and Everett McGill. In a small town, brutal killings start to plague a close-knit community, but Marty, a paraplegic boy, is convinced the murders are from a werewolf. So I did not see this movie growing up. I didn't discover it until just a few years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago. But ever since I saw it, I absolutely fell in love with it. It just has all the things I love about Stephen King's stories, at least when they're put to film in the right way. There's just this small town charm and fun, quirky characters galore. Everything looks quaint, but yet there's this creepy, mysterious underbelly, things that you just can't quite see, and you know nothing is quite right. All these fun characters, but you know one of them has got a darker side. And it plays with you for a while, just giving you this fun little mystery to try to solve, trying to figure out who the bad guy is. Like, who is this werewolf? Who is this monster? And Gary Busey has one of his most entertaining roles in this movie. He's just a blast. The way he designs this crazy wheelchair for the little boy and just the whole fun adventure side of it. It's just one of those movies that just takes me back to being a kid with tons of nostalgia. I just absolutely love it.
Good Lord.
An American Werewolf in London is a 1981 comedic horror movie. Written and directed by John Landis, it stars David Werewolf under the next full moon. So this is most definitely on the Mount Rushmore of werewolf horror movies. And I struggled with it. I tried as much as I could to think about, did I actually love it that much, or is it just the clout? Because this movie just goes back since basically I was born. My whole life this movie has existed. And is it really that great, or is it just I love it because I grew up with it and because it's just so beloved in the horror community? But I kept coming back to the same thing. It doesn't get really any better. It's just beautifully designed. It has a tragic yet really entertaining story. It has humor in a sick, very twisted way, but that still feels very horror. The creature design, the transformation, as far as practically done, it doesn't get any better. There's definitely a few other ones you can argue are as good, but I don't think you could really say that anything practical wise has ever been done better. The acting is great. Everybody in it just feels like real people, and there just feels like a real friendship between David and Jack. Like the two of them really have this chemistry, and you can believe and buy into this friendship that's going on. But it's so unique. Everything from the way Jack comes back as this living corpse kind of thing to haunt David, and the romance, like how he falls in love with this girl, and the weird nightmare with the crazy Nazis, like just so much uniqueness, so much bonkers wildness in this movie, yet it all wraps around, all ties together for this really climactic yet tragic, beautiful ending. And so the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what? Yeah, it really does. It has to be right at the top of my list. Bar one. There's only one other movie that I think deserves that top honor. But yeah, this one is absolute werewolf horror movie gold. The Wolfman is a 1941 creature feature horror movie, directed by George Wagner and written by Kurt Siodmak. It stars Lon Chaney Jr., Evelyn Onkers, Claude Rains, and Belle Lugosi. The story's about Larry Talbot, who returns to his father's castle in Wales and meets a beautiful woman. But one fateful night, Talbot is attacked by a wolf, changing his life forever. So this to me holds the crown. Not only does it hold a soft spot for me, but it really is what brought us so many amazing werewolf movies. It's inspired so many filmmakers, so many special effects artists. Everybody that loves horror pretty much at least knows of this movie. Like, you might not have seen this movie, but at the very least, you're familiar with the image of Lon Chaney Jr. as the werewolf. It's just such an iconic look, and it's the first one to do that full transformation into this full, entire werewolf creature. But the thing that I love the most about this movie is the mood and the atmosphere, just the foggy night. You could just feel it, the shadow, the way that it's just shot. Everything about it, the sounds, the music, it just has this real ambiance, just amazing horror vibe to it. I cannot tell you how many countless nights I have went to sleep watching this movie. It's been in heavy rotation for me for many, many years now. There's something that's comfort food type of feel to it, but on top of that, it's just so iconic, and it just has this fantastic vibe and energy about it. I absolutely adore this movie, and it is definitely my favorite werewolf horror movie of all time. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed this, please hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that's the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week, I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to find out how you can become a member on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. And if you want to find out how you can become a channel member and get that little cool little eye icon, there's a link that says members down below. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember guys, horror can be fun. If you enjoyed this, click right here to see 10 horror movie recommendations on Tubi. And I'll see you guys next time.